What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over how I shoot and edit my photos for Instagram. So first I'm going to go over the equipment I use and then the steps I go through to get a pretty good picture for the gram, at least in my opinion. This is all opinion based, so I'm just going to show you guys how I do it and maybe you guys can get some pointers. All right, this is the equipment I use. I have a Nikon D5600 camera. So it's kind of like the second tier of Nikon cameras, pretty much entry level. I really like this camera. It's been pretty good so far. If I had the money, I'd probably try a Sony, but this will definitely do the job. And as you can see, I have a 50mm lens. So that's been a really good lens that I've been using lately. I've really been enjoying it. It's pretty good focal length. And then I just have the kit lens that comes with it as well. This is an 18 to 55mm. Of course, longer focal lengths will probably give you like more dynamic shots, just like the 50mm. Those lenses can get pretty pricey. Then I also have this KNF Concept tripod that I'll be using. So this is super clutch so you don't get any motion blur when you're taking your photos. I recently did a review on this tripod. It's the last video I posted, so go check it out. So yeah, this thing is pretty awesome. Very high quality for the price. Let's set it up. Then also I do have these other lens attachments. These are like CPL filters or a polarizer. And then I have my camera lens cleaning kit. Always comes in handy in case you got some dust particles or anything like that. So yeah, with the 50mm lens, you gotta stand pretty far back. So I'll just turn my camera on. And then for tips to get clearer shots, like more crisp, what I do is I put it in aperture mode. I'm still a novice. I don't really know how to completely shoot on manual. Also, it takes a lot of time too. So the aperture mode is pretty quick. And then what this allows me to do, let me get back. So it allows me to adjust my ISO and put it down to like 100 or 125, just so you can get that crisp shot. And when you're shooting in that lower ISO, you kind of want to have a tripod just because you're going to be shooting in like a longer frame. There's definitely going to be more opportunity for camera shake if you're holding it because the lens is going to stay open longer to allow in more light. So we have our tripod set up, and as you can see, the car just isn't quite in frame all the way. So this is pretty much as far back as I can go. Let's see. So that'll do. Pretty much have my car in frame. And then in order to, because you can still, with the lower ISO, you can still get some shake and some blurriness with just pressing the button. But what I'm gonna do is I have this button I can press. Whoop. So we can set that 5-second timer so we can ensure we got that like perfect shot. Just press the button. Look at that sunset. Feeling we're gonna get some good shots here. All right, I'm gonna try this other angle in the corner. Oh yeah. So I primarily just use autofocus. Just focus on the car like so. Get another shot from the rear quarter. And yeah, the reason why I shoot in portrait mode is basically just for Instagram. If you shoot in landscape mode, you'll have less picture in the feed. And when you're shooting portrait, you pretty much can take up like the most of the screen on someone's feed. So you'll just get more detail and it'll just look better. Not that landscape shots don't look good, but I don't know, you just want more of your photo showing. All right, so I dropped my tripod down a little bit, just get a lower angle. You can barely see it, but there's like a little sun flare there. So that'll be really cool to capture. All right, let's get some other angles. All right, so we lined up a rear end shot, and I do have a CPL filter. It doesn't mean you just screw on the filter and you're done with it. You do actually have to adjust it. And what it will do is it will adjust the reflections of light on your car. And so you can really get in more crisp shots and less noise in the reflections, I guess. So what I'll do is I'll just turn the filter lens. I don't know if you can see it, but it's literally changing the shadows and the lighting on the car. So my goal with the CPL filter is to minimize the amount of flare in my image. So that looks pretty dang good. Make sure it's focused. All right, that was pretty good rear angle shot. Kind of losing some daylight here, but it's literally the perfect lighting right now. Always want to shoot generally in the mornings. That's when I shoot, like sunrise and sunset. Unless it's a super cloudy day, then you can probably get away with shooting during the middle of the day, just to get that prime lighting. All right, I got these nice little palm trees in the background. I feel like that'll be a really good shot. So just take as many photos as you can during your little photo trips, because you can never take more photos later, and you can always edit the photos that you have. So it's just some advice right there. Let's take the shot. All right, so we got a little rear end shot. Got some really nice sky right now, but as you can see, it's not really center in the frame. So let me just adjust my camera really quick. And having it straight on isn't super important to me because I can just crop it later. Just make sure it's focused, and then let me adjust my CPL. So yeah, the CPL I'm really still learning, but it's really been a game changer. I think we'll keep it like that. It's not really giving me much of an adjustment. And then this, I'll definitely adjust the CPL on because, oh yeah, you can see the whole right side of the car just gets brighter from those shadows. So wow, it's gonna be like super crisp. Sheesh, it's looking like Frozen blue or something. Man, y'all see the moon right there? That'd be a really cool shot if I can get it. Let's go for it, let's try it. You can like barely see the moon, but let's get the shot. I'm sure we can edit it later, make it really nice. Had to stop. The sunset is looking too gorgeous. Oh, but wait, let me turn my lights off. Ah. This is a pro tip, Beamers. Just want to change this for the front end shots. All right, so we'll just take one photo like this. Oh man, gotta love that sunset shot. Absolutely gorgeous here in Orlando, Florida. All right guys, we are back and I'm gonna show you guys how I edit my photos. I'm gonna try to do this. I can't really explain too much detail because it'll take way too long. Probably bore you guys, so I'm just gonna try to do this as quick as I can. I've already edited the images, so I'll just show you, kind of go through what I did and some tips and tricks that I used along the way. Alright, so I selected 4 photos to edit here. I might only have time for 2. Let's go over this one first. This is the image before my edit, and this is after. Kind of just really brought out the colors a lot and kind of lessened the shadows on the car. So one of the first things I do when I get my photo in Lightroom is I use this profile. So I kind of like have it based on my camera setup. And this is a good point here to make is you should always shoot in RAW. That gives you like the most control over your image, and you can really dial in like the colors and the temperature like down to the exact value. As if you're editing a JPEG, then you can really you're really limited. So recently started shooting in RAW and RAW only, and then I pretty much go through and figure out which profile best suits the image. I kind of like the portrait one. It's kind of like a neutral vibe, kind of like camera neutral, but a little bit more color. And then first to start, lately I've been playing around a lot with like the radio filters. And what that allows me to do is I can basically draw a radial filter around the car and then click to invert it. And then I can adjust my exposure down a little bit like you see here. And it kind of just makes the car pop a little bit more. You're talking. Shh. So yeah, you can see here, once I lessen the exposure, kind of like makes, you can see here once I lessen the exposure, that it just drops out and really makes the car come to your attention. That's all I did there, and then I'll also draw one around the car and typically just increase clarity or texture, or if I need to adjust the exposure there, I'll do that too. And then for this image, I really only bumped up the clarity to like 5 because anything more than that, it was just getting a little too edited. So you can see here, it's just like blam, like don't need all that. I like to keep my images somewhat natural. You know, I don't like the too edited look unless that's what I'm going for, unless the image calls for it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did there. And then on most of my images, I like to use a linear gradient filter. And I'll just draw that up from the bottom and up to the car basically, as you can see. And then I'll just decrease the sharpness. Basically do 100 so that it creates like this foreground blur, and then I'll decrease the exposure, and what this does is it really like draws your eyes to the focus of the image, which is the car. So that's always helpful when you're editing, and it makes it look a little more artistic. And then next I'll just go ahead and play with the light values. As you can see, I added a little bit of exposure, no contrast in this image. Took down the highlights a tad bit. It'll just kind of lessen the sky and these reflection points. A lot of like the white balancing. And then I brought out some shadows so you can see the car better. And then blacks as well. And a lot of people, they when they do their edits, they use this point curve and tone curves as well. I don't really like to do that. I mean, I'm not like too experienced in all this, so I just kind of stick with my sliders, keep it basic. But one thing I have learned is if you want to add some kind of like a faded look to your photo, then you can raise up this bottom y-axis only. And it just kind of adds in a little more, I guess, haze to the image. So I kind of want to bump that up. So if I have it all the way down normal, you can kind of see this like at the bottom of the screen there. So I just kind of bump it up a little bit. I think it was at like 2.4. Yeah. Dude only wants to meow when I'm filming videos. Alright, and then This will show you right here when you're editing color how important it is to shoot with RAW, because if you don't, then Lightroom will only give you the option to do like a value of 0 to 100, I'm pretty sure, but it doesn't give you this like whole range in like these thousands. So that's what you can really adjust and fine tune your colors. So with this image, I'll show you what it looked like as shot. It was just super blue because I shot sundown. Oh man. And then so I changed that up, warm up the image a little bit, and then tint, I kind of left that the same, just came in at 5. So then it gets really purple. Just leave that there. Vibrance, didn't really need any more vibrance in the image in my opinion. But usually, since my car is Astoro Blue, can't add too much vibrance, then it will just not look realistic. So I typically only add like 25 max to vibrance in my photos. All right, another technique that I used in this photo, and it kind of adds like more of like a soft vibe to the image, is you can bring down the saturation to like -60, and then go into your color mixer and then play with these values that you want. Just bring them back up to 60. And like as you can see, the green I just left down at 0. I didn't really want the green showing through as much, even though it doesn't really make a difference because you already brought the saturation down. -60. But yeah, even though I brought all these values back up to 60, it's still not like the same. Still not like the same as the image how it was before. I'll show you guys real quick. If I bring this to 0 and then bring these values back to 0, you'll see it's like a lot more color, a lot more saturation in the image. So I kind of wanted that like softer vibe. You got too much color going on with like the sunset here. So I just brought down that to -60. And then brought all these back up to 60. And it kind of adds more of like a grayish look to the photo. I kind of liked it in this one. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Don't really mess with noise reduction unless I feel like I need to. And yeah, so that's that one. Alright, so this is the second image I'm going to show you my edits on. This is the original, as you can see. I thought this was really dope because I had like the full moon in the background. Even though you can barely see it, but nice little touch. And this is the photo after the edit. So bam, just kind of like really lessened the exposure and made the car pop a lot more. Added in those details. So let's take you guys through it. Like I said, I just used the radial filters at first. So just highlighter on the car, bring down that exposure a tad, and then in this one I wanted to bring down the highlights a lot as well, because that'll bring out a little bit more color in the sky and darken the image a bit more too. So we did that, didn't do any other adjustments, and then around the car, these are the adjustments I made just on the car itself. So we brought down the exposure just a tad, not as much as the background. Increased the contrast a lot. And what this does is like really brings out, darkens the like darkness more, if that makes sense. But you can see here when I do that adjustment. So I thought that was looking good at like 20, like 40. So I thought that was looking good at like plus 40. And then I brought down the highlights on the car a little bit more. So that's less white on the car and the reflections. So as you can see. And in the taillights too. Actually has a really good effect on the taillights because as you can see at 0, you get kind of like more white and orangish. So bring that there, and it looks a little bit more red. And then brought out the shadows a little bit. I didn't want as much of the car shadowed. Brought down the whites a tad and the blacks up a little bit. This what this did, it allows me to allows you to see the detail more of the blacks down here, and without making it like too grayed out like that. And then of course we added a little bit of texture and clarity, kind of bring a little bit more detail into the car, subject of the photo. That's it. And then just for all these general, brought down the exposure of the whole image a tad bit, increased the contrast, took off some highlight a little bit, and then I brought down the temperature just a tad bit. You can see I really like the warm look in this photo. So keep that like that. Tint, brought that down, pretty sure it was at 5, and I just brought it down to 2. Added in some vibrance, a little bit more color. And then I brought down the orange a little bit in the image because that really affects the taillights right there. So minus 25, and you can see it just looks a little bit nicer, I think. A little more detail there. That's pretty much it for that. And then of course added my linear gradient. Just bring down the exposure in the foreground a little bit, as well as the sharpness. Add that blur and that like artistic effect a little bit. So yep, that is it for that one. Alright, so that pretty much does it. I'm just going to keep it at those 3 images because it's going to be a really long video if I don't. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys learned a few things. Once again, I don't know everything. I'm just a beginner too. So let me know if you have any tips for me in the comments below. And let me know if you guys like this style of video, as I'll do more of them in the future and kind of just share my editing tips as well as I learn them. So if you guys found this video helpful, please smash that like button, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.